Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogens. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Can you guys hear me at all?
Yeah.
All right.
I can hear you. You sound better.
All right.
It's like your voice got more sexy over the weekend.
Hey, Jason.
I'm getting like crazy feedback, but nonetheless, good morning, everybody. It is Monday, May 22nd, and today is National Maritime Day, National Solitaire Day, because being by yourself is sometimes better just that way. National Buy a Musical Instrument Day for all you musicianally inclined individuals out there. It's National Vanilla Pudding Day, International Being You Day, because why not be you? World Paloma Day, because everyone loves a beverage. And, of course, it's National Craft Distillery Day, because even though this, oh, man. Sorry, guys.
Check.
I really apologize. But thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. Use that fancy little QR code right there in the top-hand corner of your screen to find where we live at on the internet. And we're live every Monday through Friday on YouTube. And we are not on Clubhouse today because we are having audio issues. But nonetheless, we're going to kick it off with the dope dad himself. That's right, Rico Lamitte coming to the stage to save the day. Oh, yeah, it's the dope dad and Quasimodo's little friendly helper. That's right. It's Rico Lamitte.
I can't hear it. I can't hear a thing. Can you guys hear me?
Talk.
I can hear you.
You can hear me? All right. If you guys can hear me, I'm just going to go. All right. I assume that was a great intro, Jason. Let's just keep it rolling here. All right. So, we have all found ourselves at some point as adults in the middle of the night, maybe sober, maybe not, at the local corner store. Whether it's a no-name food and liquor or a national chain like 7-Eleven or Circle K to grab munchies, re-up on beer and cigarettes, condoms, all the reasons why your mom told you nothing good ever happens after midnight. But the truth is, with a total market size of U.S. and Canada of $671 billion in sales and over 155,000 shops across the country, convenience stores continue to be a huge piece of the U.S. growth economy. So next time that you are doing laundry and find a crumpled up $60 receipt in your pocket with a 1 a.m. time stamp for a bunch of junk food and condoms that you never ended up using, there's no reason for shame. You're just fulfilling your patriotic duty to keep American capitalism on track. However, a Gallup poll released last August about cannabis sales surpassing cigarettes has gotten convenience stores licking their chops at the opportunity to soon sell weed on their shelves too, and take advantage of the potential revenue boon about to take flight in the U.S. in a post-prohibition world. 7-Eleven franchises sell over $24 billion annually in beer alone, and per the article, have historically led the way in trends like lottery tickets, Airborne, and of course, the Big Gulp. Coke suggested to 7-Eleven in 1967 that they use an unheard of, at the time, 32-ounce cup to sell fountain drinks, a huge step up and a leap from the standard 20-ounce offering back then, but it turned into such a moneymaker, auto manufacturers had to start building bigger cup holders. 7-Eleven is now eyeing cannabis potentially as their next Big Gulp moment for franchisees. The problem is they can't really do any focus grouping here in the U.S. to get a better idea of how things would pan out. So what better place to serve as testing ground for what analysts are calling the inevitable future of the U.S. adult use market but Canada. Per the Fresh Toast, convenience store partnerships with cannabis kicked off in 2018 when Canada Couche-Tard, the parent company of Circle K, entered into a venture in 2019 with Toronto-based Fire and Flower, an adult-use cannabis retailer with more than 100 corporate-owned stores. ACT agreed to provide Fire and Flower with capital to accelerate its expansion strategy. The alliance has since expanded to include the opening of 7 Circle K co-located cannabis stores in Canada's provinces of Alberta and Ontario, operating under Fire and Flower corporate or technology licensing business models. The companies intend to pursue more opportunities to expand Circle K co-located store program. Couche-Tard continues to see promise in the cannabis market and is committed to learning more about the space as it evolves both in Canada and beyond. All right, says Alex Miller, the retailer's executive vice president in operations for North America. Couche-Tard believes it's a natural extension to pair its convenient shopper experience with the growing demand for cannabis products. Ben Kovler, founder and chairman of CEO at Green Thumb Industries, says convenience is a strong channel in retail and people want more access to cannabis. Idaho-based Jackson's Food Stores is teaming up with Cordova Van Corp, a cannabis-focused consumer products retail company based in Toronto, and they're going to be offering drinks to start off in America, and they hope to launch in Washington and Oregon and Arizona very soon. So my question is this, man, are you guys going to be buying your weed at 7-Eleven, Circle K's, and all these gas stations, or will you be still going to the actual dispensary where they know what they're selling to you? I don't know. I'm going to stick to the pot shop and going to a dispensary if I actually have to buy it, but I don't see myself buying a bunch of gas station weed anytime soon or in the future. But that's just my take on it. I'm Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street. Love to hear from the rest of the team here.
I don't mean to sound like a total jerk, but I don't buy anything from 7-Eleven, so I'm definitely not buying my weed there.
Well, and I don't see how this is going to come to fruition whatsoever. There's going to be way too many what about the children. There's no way that you can put this on convenience store shelves. I just don't see how they're going to get that passed. I mean, they don't even like dispensaries opening up near schools. Are you kidding me that a kid's going to be able to go in, buy a cannabis beverage next to an energy drink? That's not happening.
Analysts are calling for it in 5 years. There's like a 5-year game plan.
Unless they're hard. I'm calling for legalization too. We'll be lucky to see that in 5 years.
They sell porn, cigarettes, and alcohol at 7-Eleven and other convenience stores. So I think that's kind of a silly point to try to make. I know there is still a lot of cannabis stigma. What I would say, number one, though, is this is a great step in the right direction for liquor stores and tobacco stores and other stores that are non-cannabis to be able to sell these products. And the biggest problem in California that's causing the death of the industry is the cannabis dispensary. The cannabis dispensary models have been operating A, like pawn shops, B, they've been ripping everybody off, and you can see these articles in Forbes and everywhere all over the internet, including San Francisco Chronicle just did a big article about the oncoming extinction event of cannabis stores in California due to them not paying their bills for years in a row. I've got tons of friends who are cultivators and hash makers who have not been paid by stores for years running, going all the way back to Steve D'Angelo, Weed Jesus in the 215 era. And this also will help bypass the AM radio slotting fee thing that's been going on at stores where you have to not only give them your cannabis at a discount, but also pay $1,000 to $10,000 a month to even be on a shelf and have your bud tenders featured. Now, this doesn't go for all stores. A very small percentage of stores are trying to do a good job, serve their customers, serve brands, and help this industry survive. But there's too many stores that have been acting like the hot chick at the party and just seeing like what people will throw at them, and they have been literally the death of the cannabis industry. And that's why in California, where we have a robust black market, you see people just go into the trap market because they don't have to deal with this shit.
What state are they talking about doing this in?
Nationwide.
Yeah. Right. Zero chance of that.
Well,
there would have to be so many regulatory changes down at the state level at every single, think about the minimum requirement for any kind of cannabis business operation to be, 1,000 feet away from any park, school, playground type situation.
You know how
right?
many class action lawsuits there would be against municipalities if they
allowed
for 7-Elevens to do this?
Jason, per the article, they said they're going to be launching their pilot programs in Washington, Oregon, and Arizona.
I guarantee you they don't launch a single one because Arizona is a very, very, very tightly controlled market. Those shop operators out there would totally file a class action lawsuit because it would totally diminish the value of their retail licenses if they were to allow for something like this. And this is why I say that cannabis is only always going to be sold in a dispensary, because that's already the model that they set up, and they're going to face too many lawsuits if they try to put this into mainstream shelves.
Well, and frankly,
We'll see.
Nick, my dear Nick, has said in the chat that I'm spouting prohibitionist talk with what about the children and what about alcohol. Well, frankly, the alcohol lobby is a lot stronger than the cannabis lobby, and that's why alcohol gets to do whatever the hell it wants. And so if you want to get to do whatever the hell you want, start putting billions of dollars into lobbying. That is the only way that something like this is ever going to get through. That's the only way legalization is going to happen. You have to actually step up and lobby. And these folks aren't doing it whatsoever.
Hey, but Gretchen, what happens when the alcohol companies continue to lose more and more billions to the cannabis industry, and then cannabis becomes their business?
Well, all right, then you have a shot in hell of this happening. When the
happening
alcohol
that's
companies
happening
start,
right now.
I understand that. I understand consolation, but still, you still got to get through regulations and legalization. And legalization is not coming anytime soon. I'm sorry to be the one that tells people that. It's the truth.
I think it'll come quicker when alcohol and cigarettes already said they're losing profits, and they're already jumping in the game too. So you have their lobbies hopping in here. That's the money that you've been waiting for. That's what you've been calling for. Gretchen, we need more lobbying money. That's going to be their money, and it's going to be pushing towards this solution.
Well, okay, Rico, then what do you think it's coming? Give me a date.
They keep on losing billions of dollars, and they've been stepping up. They're talking about.
That's not what I asked you. I said, give me a date.
I'm not going to predict. Well, I'm not the sage over here. I'm just saying, like, it will happen. Okay.
Do you think it'll happen in the next 5 years?
Yes.
Gretchen's on the lookout to win another $100 bet.
I think it'll happen within the next 2, maybe 3 years max.
Word.
All right, we'll see.
Will
I'm
they
not
be
as optimistic.
All the
you
other
can't even get safe banking passed. We'll see.
Anything
who
to get
can?
around the stranglehold that the dispensaries have in California is needed. And I can't speak as much to other states because I don't have as much experience. I don't live in other states. But literally the dispensary model is killing California. It is the death knell of California. The moment you can sell cannabis at other places, all of these places are going to find their power go away, and then they're going to have to actually compete in a level business field, and their business acumen is going to have to be the thing that makes them stand out. Again, not slotting fees. And if we look at slotting fees, this is like AM radio and why AM radio died in the 50s to album-oriented rock that was coming out from the West Coast. The same thing was happening. The only way to get on the radio was to pay a DJ thousands of dollars for them to play your song. And what happened was pop music went this way and consumer wants went this way. Nobody wanted what was getting paid to play on the radio. And so these album-oriented stations came on this new format called FM, and FM radio took off because it was playing the thing that people actually wanted to see. And the analogy here is in the trap market, people are getting the quality that they want, and these brands that are smaller cultivation craft brands that don't have $1,000 to $10,000 a month to pay all these stores are able to serve their customers, and the customers find it. We can see what's happening, you guys. And so Flocana, who started this entire slotting fee thing, is already out of business because you cannot pay to win in the cannabis industry. It's a quality-based, it's a sensorial-based, it's an experience-based product, and if it is not good, customers will not continue to shop with you.
St. Germain, I got a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
And for Rico, whoever else wants to jump in on this. So pretend this happens, that this cannabis comes to convenience stores. Does all licensing just go out the window? Is there no value then to having a cannabis license?
Exactly.
I don't think it's going to happen.
She didn't ask Jason Beck. Like I'm just saying, like Jason. You always say the golden rule, right? He who holds the gold makes the rules.
That's right.
And who has the money? Who has that gold? Alcohol companies and cigarette companies, the same ones that are losing money in these convenience stores. Keep their product there. They're going to go forward, and they're going to set the rules.
Okay, well, that didn't answer my question whatsoever.
I think it's going to take descheduling, and then when descheduling comes, I think there'll be a nationwide licensing process like the ATF in licensing alcohol.
Nope.
And then you'll have a much wider ability to get products. Most of the products at 7-Eleven are going to suck, just like most of the products at 7-Eleven suck now. But if they can sell cannabis products at 7-Eleven, that means they can also sell them at tobacco-style shops
Dreamers.
and liquor stores and other places where you can get high-quality products.
This will never happen.
But then what happens to all the folks who
right, but
poured
also weed was never gonna be
thousands of
legal, and it
dollars,
is,
millions
so
of
that's not
dollars
true.
into having
It's
their
not legal.
license?
That was their risk to take.
Okay, so you're going to tell, all these folks.
I'm not
who
going to
paid-
tell them.
No, I'm just saying, but that's
American
how it's
capitalism
going to
is gonna tell
go.
them. Yeah, that's
All
how
right,
capitalism
it's
works,
just
right?
all- the hell with it. They aren't going to mean jack.
This is American style capitalism. That's how it works.
Okay.
Yep. And Nick had a great comment just now. Were that to happen, the other thing that would be farms to sell direct just on roadside stands like they do with produce.
They should be able to,
as well as craft breweries. Totally.
He's
So
going to be allowing for that. I can
think
say that much.
if we look at and scaffold off from science, change is currently the only constant in our universe. The only thing that never stops or changes is change itself. And so the cannabis economy, the cannabis reality, cannabis legalization, just like psychedelic legalization, is not going to be static. Everything is going to change and morph. And the more people who have relatives and friends who are positively benefited by the medical effects of cannabis, the more the stigma will drop, the more cannabis access will rise, and eventually we'll get through this whole thing together, you guys.
Boom. There it is.
Oh, yeah. Let's go to a commercial. We're going to be right back. Dreamers.
Oh, yeah. You know what time it is? That's right. It's Tuesday over here at Green Street, and we got Smoky Vanilla with us in the building. So that's right. It is time to stretch and smoke. We just got done smoking. Now we're going to stretch it out, and then we're going to smoke again.
Let's go. I'm Smoky Vanilla with my background in kinesiology and bodywork massage and assisted stretching. You got to come check it out, baby. Check me out on IG at Smoky Vanilla 1, Stretch and Smoke. Twitter, Smoky Vanilla. Social Club, Stretch and Smoke. We're also on Sports Recovery by Dan and Jam.
If you want to feel as good as I look, then make sure that you get a stretch and smoke in with Smoky Vanilla.
Yeet!
Up next, he is the industry's longest continuously operating retailer. And if you ain't catching him on the street smoking the best weed in the world, you might just catch him in the penthouse overlooking all of the common activities over at the Vortex, looking down from the penthouse suite over there, smoking on nothing but the best weed in the world. Coming up next, you knew who it is, Jason Beck.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, Rico. Hope everyone is having a great day today. It's Monday. And of course, what would Monday be without some type of technical issue? So I do apologize for that, everyone. But nonetheless, I have some good news to deliver because a Minnesota bill legalizing adult use cannabis has passed the Senate and is on its way to the governor's desk. That's right. Senators in Minnesota passed a bill on Saturday, working overtime, that would allow adult use cannabis use by people over the age of 21 and make it the 23rd state to legalize the substance for adults. The measure has already been approved by the House and now goes to the Democratic Governor Tim Walz, who is going to do the waltz with this bill and has pledged to sign it into law. Supporters of the bill said it would improve public health and safety and further social justice, while opponents said health and safety would actually worsen. Under the measure, it would become legal as of August 1st to possess, use, and cultivate at home. Retail sales at dispensaries would probably be at least a year away, and it includes a 10% excise tax on cannabis products on top of existing sales taxes and limits possession of cannabis flower to 2 pounds at home and 2 ounces in public. Other possession caps include 800 milligrams of THC in gummies and other edibles and 8 grams of cannabis concentrate. Minnesotans who have been convicted of misdemeanor or petty misdemeanor possession would get their records automatically expunged through the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension has estimated it will take until August of next year to process all of them. And people convicted of selling marijuana or other more serious but non-violent pot-related offenses, that would no longer be crimes or would become lesser offenses, and they could apply to have their records cleared or sentences reduced. Local governments would get more negotiating authority on limiting the number of dispensaries and keeping them away from schools, but may not ban them altogether. And Republican Senator Jordan Rasmussen of Fergus Falls spoke in opposition on the Senate floor on Saturday. In a quote, he says, "The fundamental flaw with this bill is that the starting point of it from proponents has been about creating an industry to fit their ideology," Rasmussen said. He said the measure gives bonus points to people who have committed drug crimes in the past and inadequately addresses law enforcement concerns about possession limits and is driven by commercial interests. Democratic Senator Lindsey Port of Bruinsville countered that and said that it would protect children from harmful effects of the illicit market by legalizing and regulating marijuana, and it would reduce risk to public health and safety, and while reinvesting in communities harmed by previous marijuana laws. Minnesotans are ready. Let's legalize, regulate, and expunge, Port said. The bill passed the Senate 34-32 on a party line vote. Well, what do y'all have to say about this? And are you going to go to Minnesota and buy some weed? And this is Jason Beck reporting for the High at 9 News Hour. What do y'all think? I like this. I am hearing lots of crickets over here.
I say good for them. We need another state. What the hell? I mean, we're going to need the numbers, even if it's not the greatest bill on the face of the earth. We really need the numbers to help prove that the people want it, that states are moving forward. You got to do it.
They have a pretty modest tax rate. I mean, considering it's a bill put together by Democrats.
Okay.
Is there a critical mass of states that if they were to go recreational, really push the DEA or Congress to do something about descheduling or federal legalization?
No.
I think, honestly, you need to have at least
70.
I was going to say 40. You need at least 40 states to really be like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I mean, if you look at it from the medical side, I mean, we're way over. What is the medical at now? 38?
Aren't we at least no, it's higher than
53.
that. It's over half. Over half the country has medical now.
Right. I said 38. Isn't it around 38? Or am I crazy?
37.
Wow.
Okay.
30. Yeah.
You're close, Gretchen.
Thanks.
Close. You're in the ball.
When it comes to like CBD and all that, I think it's 48 or so.
Well, no. Well, because technically CBD is
everywhere.
legalized underneath the Farm Bill, and 2 states have bans on that, so that's why it's 48.
Wow.
Okay, well.
Dance.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then I was right. 48. I don't know what either way.
But it's not like they've legalized CBD. Stop it. That's the Farm Bill.
No, I'm saying certain states have allowed for CBD only. What are you talking about?
All states have CBD only because of the Farm Bill. That's
I'm talking about CBD from cannabis sativa.
And then there's 2 states that have banned outright CBD, which is why you get to that number 40.
Right. So my number is 48. I don't know why this is a debate. You want to put $100 on this, Jason Beck? Would that make you finally agree with me? 48.
Oh
But
boy.
I don't understand what the
Mom
debate
and
is
Dad
about.
are fighting again.
Because what you're saying is that makes sense.
I hate conflict.
Oh, Lord Almighty. Anyway,
Whatever.
the point is,
That's right.
Well, you
Yes,
guys killed
we
my
have
background with your bad vibes.
a large number of states are on board so far, even in the medical realm, and that's not doing enough. So really, you got to push on the adult use side because that's where the bigger money is coming in to play.
Right. That is.
And I could have said that, 5 minutes ago. If Jason Beck didn't.
About time
have
you
to
finally came
fight
correct.
with me,
It's about time. Good job, Gretchen.
dude.
Yeah. That's right. It's Monday. Oh,
I need this.
Friday, High 9 News.
All right, we're going to keep it moving. We're going to go right on to our feisty little redheaded conservative who loves to tell pot loving libs all about themselves and likes to just randomly spit out facts, but doesn't actually make sense all the time. But nonetheless, it is. That's right. I roll. Cue it up. That's right. It's Gretchen Gailey.
Well, other than pot loving libs, I also love telling jackass Republicans who don't pay attention or listen how it really is. So I'm willing to tell everyone how it is, Jason Beck. Anyway, my headline today is coming from Marijuana Moment. Maryland governor signs bill protecting parents who lawfully use marijuana from child neglect penalties. The governor of Maryland has signed a bill to make it so the lawful and responsible use of marijuana by parents and guardians will not be construed by state officials as child neglect. Governor Wes Moore gave final approval to the legislation from Senator Jill Carter and Delegate Nicole Williams on Tuesday. It will take effect starting on July 1st, which is also when the state's legalization law goes into force and retail sales could begin. After voters approved a legalization referendum at the ballot last year, lawmakers passed a bill to enact regulations for a commercial market that Moore signed earlier this month. Accordingly, the legislature passed additional legislation last month to provide legal protections for parents and custodians who participate in the market. The legislation the governor signed works by adding language to statute saying that childhood neglect does not include the use of cannabis by any parent or individual who has permanent or temporary care or custody or responsibility for supervision of the child, with certain exceptions. A caretaker could be found liable of neglect if the child's health or welfare is harmed or placed at substantial risk or harm, or the child has suffered mental injury or been placed at substantial risk of mental injury as a result of parental or guardian marijuana use. Relatedly, the governor of California signed legislation last year that includes provisions mandating that social workers who are called to investigate child welfare handle parental marijuana use in the same way that they do for alcohol. Also, a study published last year found that cannabis legalization is associated with at least 10% decrease in foster care admissions on average, including reductions in placements due to physical abuse, neglect, parental incarceration, and misuse of alcohol and other drugs. I think this is a great move by the governor. I think that this needs to happen across the board. Parents should not be being held for neglect, and child services should not be called on them. And this is something that has to go away. I have met too many families who have had to deal with this because a parent was a medical patient and had their children taken away. It's just something that does not need to happen anymore in this country. And I'm glad that the governor of Maryland is putting legislation forth and making it law. This is Gretchen for High at 9 News.
First of all, I'm so excited about this. This is huge. This absolutely needs to be done. There's far too many people out there using their own determination of what is worthy of being investigated and what isn't. I mean, full stop, myself included. Just a couple months ago, my daughter mentioned something to someone out in the world about how much cannabis is in her mom's house, and someone got a hold of a social worker, and I had to have a meeting with a social worker to make sure that I was properly storing my stuff. So it's pretty invasive, and this is huge, and I'm very enthusiastic about it. Matter of fact, I'm going to repost this right now. This is a great
Was it over 2 pounds that you had in your house, Manndie?
Over 2 pounds?
Mm-hmm.
I know you haven't been here, but
Hey, Manndie, wouldn't you be protected under Gavin Newsom's amendments that he made last year? Because social workers are not supposed to now attack cannabis any different.
She didn't attack. What it was is she came here to just talk about, right? They come to talk, and then they're very observant, or they mention things that were brought up, and they just kind of like wait. They're probing, right? They're looking to see what you say. They're looking to see, if there's any congruence between what they were told and what you're saying, right? Or if there's not. It's very interesting. They even asked to meet with each of my kids. I said, by all means, go right ahead. I have nothing to hide.
So I have a question real quick.
Oh, we have Nicole Buffong.
Yeah.
How y'all doing? So real quick, in Maryland, is this type of protection not already around for CBD? It doesn't matter if a child is taking CBD or a parent. Are they doing anything? Is there anything in this bill about that language specifically? Is it the whole plant that they're talking about, or just cannabis with high THC?
I don't know. I'd have to look deeper into the bill. I don't think it gets into that specificity.
And then the other question I had is, does the bill also protect just parents who use cannabis in general? I heard you mention that it was for patients, like if you're a medical patient, but if you're just a cannabis user, do you still have?
No, it's for patients, or it's for users in general, consumers in general.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Clearing up questions over here today at High at 9 News.
Pot parents, know your rights, man. Know your laws surrounding this stuff, and it could get you in trouble. So I'm glad you shared your story, Manndie.
Yeah, just know your rights, right? I mean, within that conversation, I reminded her that I knew my rights. So I was happy to answer questions because I know I'm not going to go put my foot in it, but it's something that, the average parent probably isn't aware of.
The only thing that makes me nervous is that it seems as if the law leaves it up to some discretion of the social worker. So
it does. It definitely does. And
That's-
there's a lot to infer also, right? There's a lot that a social worker can imply.
But I think at least having the law on the books is helpful if you get into a bad scenario where you can then fight things again legally, if that's the case.
I just feel like you're going to get some
might have already lost your kid.
social workers just going to be in there just collecting kids for CPS.
Well, I also found it interesting that it says that foster care applications have gone down. So maybe this will help bring out more foster parents.
That is really intriguing to me. I mean, first of all, it's incredibly hard to be a foster parent as it is. So thank you to anybody out there in the world who's watching and doing that job. It's hard. But yeah, foster parents should be covered just as equally as all the rest of us. I mean, come on. They're doing it.
It's an interesting topic, Gretchen. I'd love to rap with my wife.
Coming back to this, actually, Gretchen, can you follow this and see, give us an update on how it unfolds?
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because my wife works with a lot of foster kids.
Yeah.
I got here. Any information I can shoot her way and get her.
Well, and it looks like the foster kid study was done in California. So
Okay.
dig that up.
Yeah, I can get an actual licensed expert to comment on that one.
Oh boy, here we go. We're going to go commercial. We're going to be right back.
Keeping up to date on the evolving policies of relevant state, local, and federal governments is key to success. When the future of your business is at stake, you need representation as dedicated as you are. With a maze of laws and regulations surrounding cannabis, hemp, and psychedelics, knowing where to begin can be a challenge. Good thing the law offices of Omar Figueroa features a skilled, highly focused team ready to guide you through it all. They're accepting new clients in California and New York. So make sure you check them out at info@omarfigueroa.com.
Oh, yeah, whatever you're doing, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And also head over to our website, www.highat9news.com. Check out our amazing selection of merch. On top of, make sure you sign up for our newsletter. And when you do sign up for our newsletter, you will also get a lovely little email in your inbox. And hopefully it goes into your inbox because it may just go into your spam box. But you're still going to have to hit confirm if you want to be confirmed. Also, too, if you want us to comment on your comments and whatnot, make sure you make them a super chat because that's the best way for us to actually acknowledge you. Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
He's a former NorCal cop, but now a security consultant at CC Security Solutions. He decided cherries and berries were not the proper solution for Sunday scaries, and here to improve your chances of survival, it's my man, fellow dope dad, Chris Eggers.
Rico, thank you for the intro. Manndie, great story or great comments on the story. Appreciate you sharing that very much. As a parent, it's great to hear at least somebody, talking about that experience. So thank you for that. Jason, thank you for my article today, for finding it. It comes out of the Providence Journal. It says, fed up, Mother Earth Wellness pot dispensary owners taking on Rhode Island's advertising ban. So this is by Mark Pantinkin, and it reads, it's not quite the Boston Tea Party, but he's saying but he is cheering on a businessman who couldn't take it anymore, and he doesn't blame him. What he did was actually more dramatic than dumping tea. He put up billboards on Interstate 95 telling the world to come to his cannabis dispensary, the biggest in the state. Why is this a defiant act? Because there's a weed ban here. For some harebrained reason, the state allowed cannabis sales but didn't allow stores to promote themselves. Yet dispensaries in Massachusetts and Connecticut can. In fact, every day from his Mother Earth Wellness Dispensary, Joe Packeris looks at Interstate 95 billboard for Massachusetts cannabis dispensary store and wonders how many cars are zipping by his place to buy from across the border. So a few days ago, he finally put up his own billboard on his property, which highlights his business and borders the highway. Mother Wellness, it says 21 plus, next exit dispensary. If state regulatory folks think he has violated the no advertising rule, Joe insists he's done no such thing. His new billboard, he says, is not advertising at all. It's just another store sign. No different, he says, than the one above his entrance. Advertising, he explains, would say I have the cheapest prices or the best quality. All I'm doing is what I've already done, the same thing that's on my building. But he won't deny he's frustrated by the no ad ban. He and others have been begging the state to allow advertising, and so far, no go. The result, Joe says that every day many folks come into his Mother Earth saying that they didn't realize recreational cannabis was for sale in Rhode Island until friends told them. They've been going to Massachusetts instead to buy their cannabis. Joe guesses business for the state's 7 dispensaries and many suppliers could improve by significant 30% if ads were permitted. 2 weeks ago, the House passed a bill allowing weed ads, but it's not law yet. And last week, a full year after recreational dispensaries were approved, the governor at last nominated 3 members to form a cannabis regulatory board needed before ads can happen. But the nominees are not yet to be ratified. Joe, he's 42, is working on as a working class guy who for years ran Kitchen and Countertop Center for New England in the area and was co-owner by Ed Keegan, also 42. So the two beat out other applicants in the area for a single cannabis dispensary license because their mill was perfect with 35,000 extra square feet for a full vertical business, according to this article, meaning they grow, create, and sell it. It's an impressive operation with growing rooms and Breaking Bad extraction lab and a gourmet kitchen making edibles. But the ad ban, Joe says, is hurting badly. He knows it will eventually happen, but he feels he's nuts. It's nuts for how long it's taking the government to get it done. As for what's the state side, I tried to ask them and explain themselves, but they wouldn't talk to me. No comment from the state in this article. Let's see. DBR respectfully declines this interview request. They tried a couple times and so far, no go. So Joe is now putting up a big billboard at his facility and not calling it an advertisement. I think that's a good workaround. I don't know if there's going to be a letter of the law here or a spirit of the law, but I found this interesting. Wanted to share it on a Monday. Appreciate y'all. Hope everyone had a great weekend.
So what is he calling it then, Chris?
He's calling it a sign to his store. He's saying that it's no different than the sign above his door already that has the name of his store. And he says, hey, it's not advertising because I'm not saying that I've got the lowest prices. I'm not saying I've got the best quality. So it doesn't fall under advertising the way he's looking at the rule. I like it.
Interesting. That's a good. He has a good lawyer.
I mean, it's very technical, right? I like it though.
By paper cuts, right? I think I'm supportive of this guy. I think it's a good approach. I hope it works for him. But death by 1,000 paper cuts is a real thing, as we all know, and they use the letter of the law specifically anytime it's convenient for them. And so here he is finding a loophole, saying that it's not advertisement, and more power to him. We'll see if it flies though.
Yeah.
I love this.
Does it have wings?
I love it.
Do you need wings to fly?
Do you need wings to fly?
You need creativity.
Not if you have Red Bull.
Red balls.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, man. You know what? We're going to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
How's it going, guys? Saman Razani coming to you from Green Street here with Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast available on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify? Tune in now and check it out.
Oh, yes, that's right. Excuse me. Coming up next, it's the mom who loves edibles. That's right. She loves those edibles because she's an Emerald Cup edible judge as well as a cannabis executive who loves to show how motherhood and a cannabis executive lifestyle all go hand in hand. That's right. It is none other than the Manndie Tingler.
Good morning, everybody. Today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about cannabis politics. My article comes to us from Marijuana Moment, and the headline reads, Top Federal Health Official Calls for Regulating Marijuana Products, which is only possible under legalization. As states continue to legalize marijuana, it is crucial that cannabis products are regulated, a top federal health official says. National Institute on Drug Abuse Director Nora Volkow said that while it might be ideal if states slowed down on enacting reform, the fact is that states are legalizing it, and we need to understand right now is what it is that we can do to minimize harmful risks. That means, among other things, regulating the products that are being sold and educating the public about adverse effects, Volkow told Fox News on Wednesday. I think that it's crucial because, as you know, the majority of the states in the United States have legalized for recreational or medical marijuana. The official's comments are notable because while she didn't explicitly call for federal legalization, such a policy change would be necessary in order to nationally impose regulations on cannabis sales and products across state markets. Volkow also discussed recent research looking at a possible link between marijuana use and increased risk of psychosis, saying, unfortunately, marijuana is not as benign as we would like it to be because it would be great if it was, because it would be great if it was a very safe drug. While the official warned about the possible risks of heavy use of a highly potent marijuana products, she said in 2021 that she's yet to see evidence that occasional marijuana use by adults is harmful. In terms of regulations, several congressional legalization bills have been introduced in recent sessions, but they have not been enacted. The result has been a patchwork of regulatory models at the state level. Meanwhile, Volkow separately told a Senate committee this month that there is emerging evidence that psychedelics carry significant potential as therapeutic treatments for certain mental health conditions, and it's a topic of great interest for researchers. The director has become a vocal critic of drug criminalization overall in the past several years, noting racial disparities in enforcement and the ineffectiveness of treating addiction as criminal rather than a public health matter. Drug criminalization has created a structurally racist system in which Black people are treated worse than others, the official said in an interview late last year. She also talked about the relationship between racial prejudice and drug criminalization in 2021, saying that in the U.S., currently reckoning with a long history of discriminatory and racist policies, many of which still continue today. Last year, Volkow said in a blog post that there's an urgent need to reshape addiction treatment, specifically by putting more resources towards identifying pre-addiction to get people help before the disease. You guys, we have an advocate. I'm very excited about this lady. How can we get her some more support? And does anybody else know what else she's doing to help us get this mission across the finish line? This is Manndie. Happy Monday. High at 9.
I'm not sure if this lady is an advocate or not. I would know if I would necessarily.
I don't know. I feel good about this.
I wouldn't call Nora Volkow an advocate. I think she's a pragmatist. I wouldn't call her an advocate. I think she sees the needs as a scientist and as a regulator that there should be labeling standards. We need to know what's in these products, yada, 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 all that jazz. I think that's the most you're going to get out of Nora Volkow.
I don't know. To me, these are pretty important statements from her chair.
They're great statements. However, I mean, that's not her track record. I mean, her track record, she has been looking at more at the science side. And that's what we need folks to be looking at is from the science. Mm-hmm. But I think the study that came out last week or so about schizophrenia in men is doing a lot of damage because I keep hearing about it left and right, even though it was some tiny study done in Denmark. Mm-hmm. Apparently, it's the end all be all now. And we need to be coming back with our own studies, our own research to really counter a lot of these arguments that are coming out. Because you only hear about the negative ones. Mm-hmm. We need to be putting forward a lot more of the good news of cannabis. And I'm not saying that cannabis is the end all be all. It may have a number of issues still associated with it that we have yet to determine because we haven't been able to do the research.
Right.
But we have got to figure that stuff out. And the industry needs to be the ones coming forward with that information to be taken seriously.
I'm just gonna say, if she's saying positive stuff, it's some type of a trap because she has always been a long time prohibitionist. Just a setup. It's a setup. Yes, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
We need to find a better way to talk to doctors and get more doctors on board with this, because I don't know, man. I don't know.
And the research is very expensive, and there's plenty of red tape to hop through. I mean, it's not like we can just easily decide to do this sort of stuff overnight.
Right.
Very true. Very true.
I mean, if you want to see stuff move along in Washington, you need someone on the DEA side. NIDA's not going to get it done.
Exactly. NIDA's definitely not going to get it done. Not with those 0.6 THC samples they give out to everybody.
Maybe if you give the DEA better prices, man, they'll start selling the shit on par with the trap. You know
they grow it for free at the University of Mississippi. Get out of here. They have better prices than anybody. It's all subsidized.
Get them better product, man.
Subsidized proof. Mailed directly to your door from the United States Postal Service.
I can dig it.
In a tin can.
I don't know, man. The more people the more we can get people speaking in some sort of positive way. I'm for it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like with everybody else, I got my eyebrow raised. Laura Volcalis.
Listen, I'm going to try and be an optimist. I know you guys, she's been a long time prohibitionist, but at the same time, everybody has the opportunity to change their mind and start speaking out in the right direction.
That part is true. I'm gonna expect the worst and possibly hope for the best, but I'm telling you,
I'm simply, when it comes to Nora Volcal, she is speaking from position of science.
Yep.
It's not that she's overnight become an advocate. I don't take that stance. She is not. But she is saying if we want to understand what's in the product, there has to be legalization. That's all she's saying, which everyone has always been saying. You have to have federal legalization if you want to put out federal standards.
Which means that she's calling for descheduling.
No, she didn't say that whatsoever, Jason Beck.
So she's calling for research.
I took that from it too, Jason. That's exactly what I...
She's calling for it to be legal.
Where do you... I would love to start reading articles like you do, Jason Beck, because you have the best rose-colored glasses.
You take my class anytime.
That you are so high when you're reading this stuff. Oh my God.
Don't believe that.
I'm just saying, Gretchen. Saying.
Yeah, just saying. You're always just saying.
The reason I do believe that she's calling for descheduling is because she's calling for she's saying that none of this can happen without legalization, and you're not going to get legalization unless you have descheduling.
Baloney. You could have legalization and make it a Schedule II drug. What are you talking about?
It's not legal. It's not
what are you talking about?
That's not legal. It's not legal.
Okay, fine. In what world? Again, fantasy land, your rose-colored fantasy land that you live in on Booth Street.
0.0, Gretchen.
Keep talking.
Just tell the cop you didn't know you couldn't do that, right, Chris?
I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't.
Ignorance is not an excuse for a law.
That's the George Costanza. That's the George Costanza excuse. I didn't know I couldn't do that.
Thank you for telling me that I could not do that. Oh my God, I've just learned so much.
I'll never do it again.
Yeah, thank God you were here to correct me.
Those guys that give police officers a bad rap, man. I'm not with them. Let's keep it rocking. We're done with ads for the day, right?
Yep, we ran all the ads, bro. You want another one?
No.
Let's run a third Smoky Vanilla, you guys.
Is it Smoky Vanilla?
Make us watch Smokey again.
Time for Stretch and Smoke.
Yeah.
See, you guys all want to look as good as I feel.
Exactly. But up next, he is the co-host to the only podcast legally cleared in the lower 48 to tell you exactly what's good, but also an immortal cannabis wizard with a Stanford PhD in tripping balls, here to take us on another educational trip to the end of today's show, Mathieu St. Germain.
Thanks, Brother Rico. Happy Monday, everybody. I got another psychedelic story. This one is about an Arizona veteran who faces prison time for treating cluster headaches with DMT. Damon Lech was arrested while making breakfast on August 11th, 2021 at his home in Chandler, Arizona, when police raided his house and found psilocybin mushrooms, DMT, and a flask containing naphtha, a chemical used to extract DMT. At the time of publication, he faces a potential prison sentence of 6.5 years if convicted. Lech says he uses tryptamines like psilocybin and DMT to treat cluster headaches, which are widely considered one of the most painful experiences a human being can undergo. DMT and psilocybin are extremely illegal in the state of Arizona, so Lech is facing several years in prison in trying to maintain his quality of life. It's the worst pain I've ever felt in my life, Lech said. Nothing helps the headache as well as DMT when I'm actually having it. It will abort the headache immediately. A small hit will abort the headache for about an hour to an hour and a half. If I take a bigger hit, it can last longer, but some of the headaches last a few hours, so I would have to take a few hits during that episode. But I would be pain-free, even if smoking under a psychoactive amount. According to Lech, he got tipped off by a disgruntled ex-girlfriend who reported him to the cops, and the cops kicked his door in. Now, Lech represents a very real issue in the criminal justice system. He's a veteran of the United States Army who came home from 2 deployments with very real medical issues for which he used cannabis. He faced felony charges almost immediately after coming home due to his cannabis use, so this is kind of a second strike for him. A report from the National Library of Medicine found with regard to cluster headaches, these patients are in a desperate and vulnerable situation, and illicit psychoactive substances are often considered a last resort. There appeared to be little or no interest in psychoactive effects per se, as these were rather tolerated or avoided by using subpsychoactive doses, primarily psilocybin, lysergic acid diethylamide, LSD, and related psychedelic tryptamines such as DMT, were all reportedly effective for both prophylactic, which means preventative, and acute treatment, which means at-the-moment treatment of cluster headaches and migraines. Several more studies have been published on the matter, all which come to the same general conclusion. People who suffer from cluster headaches, which is about 1 in 1,000 Americans, will do virtually anything to mitigate or avoid them, and thus far psychedelics seem to be an effective way of doing that. Of course, because this is America and the vast majority of the country is still fighting Nixon's drug war, people like Lech face 2 equally unthinkable options. Suffer through months of horrific pain year after year, or take drugs and risk prison time. So Mr. Lech is currently negotiating through some plea deals, and I'm going to throw up letters of sympathy if you wish to advocate for him on the chat right after that. And I would just like to offer, I have a couple of friends who went deep into the psychedelic way literally because of migraines and cluster headaches, and that found that subpsychoactive, meaning you don't get high doses of LSD, and Wachuma, which is also called San Pedro or mescaline, help them to not have these headaches, which can last from hours to days and be so painful that they blind them. So this is a real great story for me, and it points to a great area of investigation and treatment for MAPS and other companies that maybe want to get in on this. Take it away, High at 9 News Crew. This is old St. Germain on a Monday.
Hey, Matthew, can you speak to any of the science that is behind DMT alleviating headaches?
Right. So DMT, LSD, and psilocybin, really all of the different psychedelics, in addition to interacting with that 5-HT2A receptor on and inside the neurons, it also alters blood flow and ends up dilating blood vessels and shunting blood vessels. And a lot of the thought with these headaches is that there's microcapillaries that get turned off and turned on and create areas of tension and dis-ease, not really in the brain, but on the surface of the brain. And the psychedelics most likely relax all of these blood vessels and allow for better blood flow. And my one friend who has been now cultivating the Wachuma cactus for probably over 20 years because of this, he takes once a week, he takes a dose that is sub-psychedelic, and when he takes that dose once a week religiously, he has no headaches. He's completely pain-free. And he was the one I was referencing. I would come over to his house, and he would be blinded by white light because he was in such intense pain, and he was contemplating killing himself for several years before he got into he just miracled into finding out about psychedelics treating this.
Fascinating.
And I like to relate it to the story about, this lady who was a former prohibitionist, and someone mentioned Sanjay Gupta, and this is one of the cool things about science. And there right now there's a lot of talk where people are mixing up public policy and scientific funding through the federal government and corporations with the scientific method. And what this story and changes in position by people who are scientists or have scientific leanings show is, if we can amass enough scientific evidence, then the third-party consensus reality becomes these substances are non-toxic and beneficial, and we don't have to argue about it. And so what we see with science and people who follow the scientific method is the ability to not just pick a side based on a tribe or a T-shirt or a logo, but the ability to have a fluid opinion, including of oneself, the ability to examine one's own opinions and perspectives, and when given new and convincing evidence, to actually change one's opinions and perspectives, not to be married to the thought that because I think this, that is me. and not identifying with one's thoughts and perspective as much.
The burning bush was DMT, wasn't it?
No, that was
There is quite a bit of allusion to the fact that, not illusion, but allusion with an A, to the fact that the burning bush may well have been, that Moses contacted that he saw God through, may have been DMT. There's also been cannabis and cocaine, traces of cannabis, cocaine, and tobacco in Egyptian mummies, showing that the Egyptians also were using these substances. There's a well-known use of the blue lotus, and there's also stylized ankhs and mushrooms in hieroglyphs, and ankhs that resemble mushrooms being basically showered with rays from Aten, who is the sun god. And really, when you go back to the Mohenjo-Daro civilization, the Hindus, the Celts, the Mesoamerican civilizations, every one of these megalith building high civilizations had psychedelic usage. The Greeks with the rituals of Eleusis, Right. Humanity's been using cannabis and psychedelics almost all the way up until about the year 0, when the Roman Catholic Church got a stranglehold on the world and began to kill all of the curanderos and the midwives.
So you're telling me, Matthew, that Egyptians snorted cocaine with papyrus?
No, you're telling me that, Jason.
Nailed it, Jay. Nailed it.
Most likely, the Egyptians were actually probably chewing coca leaves as the South Americans did. Would be my guess.
Yeah. It was crazy. Was it Mount Vesuvius that they actually had like the mummified or the preserved bodies, and they found psilocybin, traces of psilocybin, cannabis, and DMT chewed up in their teeth.
Yeah, in Pompeii.
Yeah, and so like it goes all the way back to those days, and you think of like the early days of mass. They were tripping balls, man. Jesus really was worth walking.
You would have had to be high to live back then. Jesus.
I have a question for Saint Germain. Question: is DMT legal anywhere, any state?
No, but there are several federally approved, FDA approved studies going on with DMT right now, and there is a Home Office or approved study, which is kind of like the analogous organization in Britain. There's a Home Office study in Britain as well, where they're using intravenous DMT and basically trying to send people in as astronauts to map the territory, because what they find is that there is an amazing coincidence, a synchronicity or similarity of visions, places visited, entities visited amongst people who use DMT. Now, the crazy thing is DMT is a Schedule 1 substance, which means any one of us could go to prison for manufacturing it, yet all of our brains are manufacturing it right now. Mm-hmm. So we're all actually manufacturing a Schedule 1 substance. Every human being on the planet is manufacturing a Schedule 1 substance in their brain. The reason that you don't get high most of the time, with the exception, what they think of as childbirth, near-death experience caused by trauma, etc., is we have another chemical in our gut called monoamine oxidase that we secrete, and the monoamine oxidase immediately breaks down the DMT, so it does not get uptaken by the receptors in the brain. And that's how ayahuasca works, or changa, is they use a substance like either the ayahuasca vine or Syrian rue that's an MAO inhibitor, meaning it stops your body from making monoamine oxidase for a certain period of time. So then the DMT is available free in your brain, and your brain can uptake it, and then you have these experiences.
Okay.
So there's a way you can actually extract that and sell it and make money from it if you extract the DMT from your brain, kind of like adrenochrome, right?
While you could probably get it from a human brain, it's actually far more abundant in phalaris grass. Phalaris grass is even a better source for DMT than acacia, because there's actually deforestation risk from DMT acacia harvesting, whereas phalaris grass, we could literally have indoor hydro phalaris grass, triple stacked units, and just be blasting DMT all day, all night. And the cool thing about DMT is it's non-toxic, it's highly beneficial. When smoked, it only lasts for a few minutes. You can smoke it as much as you want with no negative side effects, really, provided that you stay grounded to this reality and realize the importance of eating food and sleeping and being in this reality. But it's an incredibly beneficial chemical with really almost no downside.
Saint Germain.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
the states that have legalized psilocybin and psychedelics, that doesn't include DMT.
So the states that Oregon, I'm sorry,
Oregon
you're right.
has,
Oregon has,
and DC
so
legalized
DMT would be
psychedelics too.
So
They legalize it or they decriminalize it?
DMT would be legal in Oregon because of their statute. The rest of the decriminalized has been decriminalized nature. And so it's really been focused on things that grow and do not need to be processed in order to have a psychedelic effect, like peyote cactus, San Pedro cactus, mushrooms, and then ayahuasca.
So
Well,
and one more thing, because I want this to be a public service announcement and for Saint Germain to keep dropping, all these words of wisdom.
Yeah.
If you were a veteran who needs DMT, how would you tell them to start looking for these federal studies and things that maybe they could get involved in?
Just a quick cursory Google search, yeah. And also, again, maps.org, maps.org. Maps.org is a public policy organization that is spearheading these studies with the FDA, Johns Hopkins, Stanford, UC Berkeley, UCLA, all these teaching hospitals, and they have a good budget behind them as well. And they have several studies right now for veterans with PTSD. And one of the reasons I think for the cluster headaches and the migraine headaches are the IED encounters that folks in Afghanistan and Iraq had, where they had CTE, and so they get these critical traumatic brain injuries. And you can use not just psilocybin and psychedelics, but also the lion's mane non-psychoactive mushroom has been shown to have incredibly proven healing abilities and neuroregenerative abilities. So if you are one of these poor people who suffers from these afflictions, just eating buttloads of lion's mane mushrooms, which taste great when sauteed in butter, and then finding, if you can, psilocybin, DMT, etc., and healing your brain.
Heal the brain.
there you have it. It's like Michael Jackson wanted to heal the world. Mathieu St. Germain wants to heal the brain.
A little different.
But thank you all for joining us for today's episode of High at 9 News. You can always catch us weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our super fans showing love. Get their comments projected live on the big screen. You can do so too. Ask Jason Beck how. Also, the live audience members and online supporters catching us across all media platforms, tuning in and giving us feedback on the daily headlines of chaos. Our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety and perspective to add your respected opinions to the table. And our production team, Cloud Media Partners, House of Fuego, The Vortex, the 91 Club, all of our sponsors helping us keep the lights on, keeping our AV struggles to a minimum. And of course, the lovely Jaja Simone holding things all the way down in Clubhouse. She was out in California this weekend. We got to check in with her with that. And to the haters out there, I love you. It's Monday. I'll be back tomorrow. And always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason the High 9 News team shows up every day to read these headlines. Thank you, baby. It is Monday, May 22nd, 2023. The show is over. You've been all blessed with today's top industry headlines. Hope it was enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke it at least until tomorrow. Gretchen Gailey, you got the outro today. What you got?
Listen to me. Everything I say is 100% factual and correct.